I'm Ben Meiselas from the MeidasTouch Network, and this is a breaking news alert. Donald Trump's legal team, if you want to call it that, is at war with each other, with various sides accusing each other of engaging in legal malpractice. This comes after Donald Trump filed a completely frivolous lawsuit in Florida state court suing the New York Attorney General, Letitia James, in her official capacity and in her individual capacity, based on the fact that as the New York Attorney General, she initiated a lawsuit for fraudulent valuations by Trump and his adult children and the Trump Organization in New York under the New York executive law. Now, there's absolutely no basis at all to file a case in Florida state court against a New York state attorney general who, by the way, as of Thursday, secured a preliminary injunction from the New York State Court judge who found that Donald Trump was indeed engaged in ongoing criminal conduct and found that there was a probability of success on the merits that such a claim would be proven at the time of trial. And the judge made a finding in the New York State proceedings in granting a preliminary injunction and ordering that a independent monitor be placed in the Trump Organization to monitor all of their finances and their financial representations made to third parties and to ensure that the Trump Organization is not engaged in fraudulent conveyances of their assets to third parties. But what the judge made a finding of in the order is, Donald Trump, you had the opportunity to rebut the evidence that was put forward by the New York Attorney General. Well, first and foremost, she deposed you, and during the deposition, when you were asked about the financial statements that you were making and the valuations that you were attributing to properties, when appraisers, for example, gave something a $750,000 appraisal, you made a $50 million appraisal, just to name one example. You were asked questions about it, and at your deposition, you stated, I plead the fifth, I plead the fifth, I plead the fifth, and you did not answer a single question. And Letitia James, the New York AG, went down each and every one of your properties, and you pled the fifth to each and every one of those questions. And he didn't provide any evidence at all to rebut the declarations that were submitted by the New York Attorney General in seeking the preliminary injunction. All you used was rhetoric about this is nationalizing private industry and that people need to flee New York. You provided not a single iota of evidence to say to use the judge's exact language there. Well, in any event, Donald Trump filed this frivolous lawsuit in Florida. What we are learning from some New York Times reporting, as well as that Boris Epshteyn, who's a lawyer for Donald Trump, who's now kind of leading this whole barrage of some of this frivolous lawsuits and legal strategy that is being perpetuated by Trump right now. I mean, he's always done it, but leading the new cadre of that type of lawsuit. Boris Epshteyn was one of the proponents of filing this frivolous lawsuit. And on the other hand, you had people like Christopher Kise, who was the lawyer who was representing Trump in the proceedings in New York on Thursday before Judge Arthur Engoron, and the Trump Organization General Counsel of the real estate holdings, who were saying, if you filed this lawsuit in Florida, you are engaging in malpractice. You can't file this frivolous lawsuit that has zero merit at all. And it's going to backfire because the New York Attorney General is going to use it and show the New York State judge that you are trying to, although it's unclear what the hell you're even asking for in your lawsuit, it's going to show that what it looks like you're trying to do is hide and shield certain of your assets based on the fraud that you are committing. And sure enough, literally within hours of Donald Trump filing this completely bogus and frivolous lawsuit in Florida state court, New York Attorney General Letitia James took that filing, wrote a letter to the New York State judge, and obviously all the parties get to see these letters, and told the New York State judge exactly what Trump's general counsel and Christopher Kise warned the other lawyers that was going to happen, that this is going to demonstrate that Trump is engaged in more fraud to try to shield his assets, and that saying that would not be helpful before a preliminary injunction hearing, and in fact would be malpractice. In any event, you know who loved it and supported it, regardless of the lawyers all fighting with each other and each pointing at each other? Donald Trump. Donald Trump made posts on his social media platform about his lawsuit against the New York Attorney General, Letitia James, and he was bragging and boasting about it, and he talks about it at the rallies. And here's what I always say that MAGA stands for: make attorneys get attorneys. And for people like Christopher Kise, recall Christopher Kise, he also represents Venezuela. He is a registered foreign agent of Venezuela, but he had a reputation of actually being a pretty decent lawyer. He was the former Solicitor General in Florida. He took $3 million to represent Trump in connection with his various matters. At first, it was supposed to be the Mar-a-Lago search warrant related issues, but now he's somehow on the Tish James case. But Christopher Kise, who took this $3 million from the Donald Trump Make America organization PAC, which itself is under criminal investigation by the Department of Justice. Christopher Kise thought that he was going to be able to have a voice of reason. He's there in front of Judge Arthur Engoron making arguments, being undercut by these other lawyers who are really undermining him. I mean, look, Donald Trump's undermining them all, but you got these lawyers now filing conflicting documents to try to please Donald Trump, who's just trying to delay and create confusion. And meanwhile, what happened at the Thursday hearing? Trump loses. Judge Arthur Engoron in New York State Court grants the preliminary injunction and installs the independent monitor, right? What is happening in all these other cases and things with all of these roadblocks? Donald Trump throws up a roadblock and tries to assert executive privilege to try to get people in his past administration to not testify. The Department of Justice wins and prevails that. Donald Trump files this ridiculous lawsuit, this frivolous lawsuit that Alina Habba had a hand in Florida before the most recent frivolous lawsuit suing Hillary Clinton for RICO and racketeering violations, and suing several other, probably not several, more like 20 or 30 other individuals that Trump had a grievance for. Not only did the judge throw out that other case, the other one that was filed in federal court in Florida that Trump filed, but the judge said it was so frivolous he was retaining jurisdiction for sanctions, and now Alina Habba and Trump are facing over $1 million in sanctions that are being requested by Hillary Clinton and these other people who Donald Trump sued in this frivolous fashion. They were well outside the statute of limitations. They didn't assert any actual claims to even allege a racketeering plot at all. I mean, just complete BS. That case was thrown out. And this new case that's before the Florida state court is going to be thrown out as well. When you look at the allegations in this complaint, before you even find out what Donald Trump is asking for, which after you read the lawsuit, you still don't fully know what is he even trying to say here. You have to get through hundreds of paragraphs, or at least 100 paragraphs, of just it looks like Donald Trump's social media post. I'm the greatest. Tish James is bad. I'm the strongest. I'm the smartest businessman. Tish James is evil, repeated over and over again. It is the rantings and ravings of a lunatic. And I do agree here with all the Trump lawyers that said it was malpractice to file this lawsuit in Florida. It was malpractice, except I'm not sure malpractice is the right word, because malpractice assumes a violation of a duty owed to the client, and the client is the one who wants to perpetuate this. But I believe the filing is certainly an ethical violation and breaches every one of a lawyer's duties to the bar and to the profession. And I wouldn't be surprised if you see sanctions here. And I wouldn't be surprised if those sanctions extend to some of the other Trump lawyers who tried to stop this from being filed, because they're all now involved and in this together. So this is what it said, for example. It says, it goes, defendant, referring to Tish James, an individual guided solely by her political animus and her desire to harass and intimidate and retaliate against Trump, has been permitted to handpick a New York State judge to rule on her request to seize control of the Trump business empire comprised of highly valued real estate and other assets. This is because, as the Attorney General claims, sophisticated lenders received inflated estimates. James purportedly brought the suit to protect sophisticated banks and insurance companies, only to find late in the process that after reviewing 10 million pages of the documents, that the Trump organization was highly underleveraged with very low debt. As a private company, nobody knew very much about great business than businessman Donald Trump, who built now what is being revealed as one of the greatest companies ever. The continuing witch hunt that has haunted and targeted Donald Trump as he came down the golden escalator at Trump Tower in June 2015 continues. President Trump built a great and prosperous company, but a company nevertheless that must be carefully, delicately, yet powerfully managed. And the appointment of a political monitor or the interference by a political hack like James, who is using this lawsuit for political gain, would bring harm to the company, the brand, the employees. What? And you go down, this is like every paragraph reads like that. Run-on sentences, incoherent sentences, just bizarre attacks of the New York Attorney General and the judge overseeing his case in New York. And you really have to get down to paragraph 119 about what he is asking for when he goes on page 31 of this ridiculous document, where Trump goes, nonetheless, President Trump reasonably fears that James' handpicked justice will require President Trump to disclose the terms of his revocable trust and fine President Trump $10,000 a day for not providing it if she asks for such relief in the New York Supreme Court, which she has given every indication she will do, absent an injunction from a Florida court protecting the privacy rights of a Florida resident from unlawfully prying non-residents. James may gain access to the trust instrument and further violate President Trump's right to privacy. That's in italics. I have no clue why that part is in italics. And so that's really what he's asking for, is for a Florida judge to issue an injunction so that a case that's being pursued by the New York Attorney General, that she can obtain discovery and obtain information about his hiding assets in a revocable trust. And what did Tish James do right away? She told the judge, she goes, look, this is what he's trying to do there. He filed this frivolous lawsuit, this absurd lawsuit. This just shows what he is doing to further his fraud. Right before the hearing, and Trump lost that preliminary injunction hearing, not necessarily because of that, but certainly that was new data that the judge was able to receive. And the judge pointed out, look, you inflated all your valuations. Here's the specific findings that exist. Rebut them. Just give me a document, Donald Trump. I mean, Judge Arthur Engoron in New York, for those who have appeared before him, is got a great reputation. He's a no-nonsense judge. If anything, plaintiffs' lawyers who sue businesses sometimes find that Judge Engoron provides sometimes a little bit too much deference to businesses, although he's got a very fair reputation of being fair. But you're in a New York court. You are in the financial epicenter of the world. And so I think Arthur Engoron recognizes that. And so he's deferential to businesses. And so if Trump just submitted to him any data, a declaration, anything that could basically say, look, the reason that I gave a $350 million valuation to the triplex in Trump Tower where I live, and the reason I claim it's 30,000 square feet when it was 11,000 square feet, and the reason that I valued that property on my statements of financial conditions at that number, which at that time was about $200 to $250 million more than the highest price apartment in all of Manhattan, is because this. And give a reason. Because it has this incredible brand cachet and value, whatever it is. It's all BS, but at least submit evidence to rebut it, but that's not what the MAGA extremists do. Like, they don't even go to try to rebut it and then go, oh, we put forward this evidence. They don't. They put forward no evidence at all, and then they whine about it and cry about it and go, oh, I'm being treated so unfairly. You're not. Litigants go in front of judges all the time. There's independent monitors, receivership cases, all, preliminary injunctions. It happens every day in court. Happens every day, and people put forward evidence and demonstrate, and ultimately the court has to weigh the evidence. The court has to find, in granting a preliminary injunction, there's a probability of success on the merits and balancing the equities, and you could try to rebut it, but you gave no evidence whatsoever. And it kind of also reminds me with Trump's lawyer, John Eastman, who was whining to the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals that the January 6th committee was able to review the records that Eastman was ordered to produce to them. He was ordered on October 19th to produce the records by October 28th. And he's supposed to be this well-known lawyer, and I'm a constitutional scholar and all this stuff. So he loses on the 19th. He's ordered to turn it over by the 28th. He doesn't file any appeal on the 20th, the 21st, the 22nd, the 23rd, 24th, 25th, 26th. On the 27th, he seeks like emergency relief from the judge to extend the deadlines. On the 28th, the judge denies it. His deadline basically passes, so he turns over the records to the January 6th committee. They read it. Then he blames them for reading it. He goes to the Court of Appeals and goes, they read the records. They knew I was appealing it, and they read the records. It's like, you're all you want to do is whine. Just on the October 20th, file your appeal then. Or reach out to the January 6th committee and tell them you're intending to appeal. Don't open up the records until you file an appeal. But you turn it over, you get them to read it, and then you go, oh, pity me, everyone's against me. That's one of my biggest issues with this MAGA thing. And a lot of issues. They're traitors, they're criminals, they're weird, they're cultists. There's all that stuff. But this whining and this just playing the victim over and over and again and not doing anything and just, everyone's out to get me. They're all against me. Oh my God, there's a witch hunt against me. It's not a witch hunt against you. Just submit evidence like everybody does. Just submit it. They don't even do that. Anyway, I like that the MAGA lawyers are all fighting with each other, accusing each other of malpractice, and see what happens. Make attorneys get attorneys. A lot of them are, in other contexts, the whole wave of those attorneys who were involved in the election interference efforts, a lot of them have lost their legal license or are being investigated by state bars or received severe sanctions, which is good. And I don't know how lawyers think that they're going to repeat the exact same conduct and have different results here. We'll see. I'm Ben Meiselas from the MeidasTouch Network. Hey, please hit the subscribe button right now. It is free to subscribe. So if you haven't subscribed yet, well, what are you doing? Hit the subscribe button now. And in addition to subscribing, maybe try joining one of our memberships at Patreon. Go to patreon.com/MeidasTouch. There's a number of different memberships there that you can join. And join a membership package with exclusive content and behind-the-scenes footage and exclusive podcasts and posts and so much more, exclusive merch drops. Most importantly, though, you always ask, what can you do to help grow this independent media platform? No worries if you can't. But if you can, by joining one of those memberships, it helps grow this because we have no outside investors. There's no outside funding. So we are fueled by that and that alone. So if you're able to, great. If not, no worries, but it does go a long way to help wherever you are in the world. Patreon.com/MeidasTouch and subscribe. I'm Ben Meiselas. Until next time.
At MeidasTouch, we are unapologetically pro-democracy, and we demand justice and accountability. That's why we're spreading our message to Convict 45. That's right, gear up right now with your Convict 45 tees and pins at store.MeidasTouch.com. That's store.MeidasTouch.com.